Joining us now, Texas Congressman Jodey Arrington. It's good to have you back on, sir. We've got some news potentially coming in, unconfirmed reports. You know how the White House has been stalling the ICE report on criminal illegal arrests and deportations? It looks like deportations may have plunged about 70% versus 2020. Your reaction to that?
Well, we've seen exponential increases over the last year, record now up to almost 2.5 million people. Those are just the folks we've apprehended. But here's what they fudged on that we wrote letters about, put pressure on them, and they in fact changed it, were the criminal aliens who have been apprehended, who have committed crimes on our soil. In fact, it was a 1,900% increase in criminal aliens who have committed manslaughter and homicide in the United States. They changed it back, but you know, like a lot of things, there are moving targets out there. But the bottom line is there is no control other than the cartels, and they're just pouring our country with drugs and crime and criminal aliens. And this president has done nothing, and I see no change in his posture or policy at this point for the next 3 years, which is a disaster that we cannot stand idly by and let happen.
Congressman, Reuters is reporting the White House has a new plan to put hundreds of illegal immigrants under house arrest with tracking devices like ankle bracelets instead of placing them in detention centers. Is this going to work?
It will not work, and it's just a political ruse for letting more people into the interior of our country to not show up at court, or if they show up at court, not abide by the judge's final order. The fact is, the law says that we must detain people who are here illegally, number one. Number two, when they are detained, you have virtually 100% deportation when the judge says they don't have a legitimate reason for being here. But when you release, it's virtually 100% a chance that they either won't show up at court or they won't abide by that final order. So this is just more catch and release by another name.
You know, there's also this story. A 16-year-old Connecticut student in Connecticut reportedly suffered a potential drug overdose from what police suspect was marijuana laced with fentanyl. We're hearing reports of teenagers dying in Connecticut, 2 other students hospitalized after overdosing of fentanyl in their schools. The fentanyl is laced inside marijuana. So we know that we've been reporting how China has making the chemicals for fentanyl, and the drug cartels across the border use those chemicals to produce this powerful and lethal drug. What's going to be done against China on this?
Well, listen, China is a whole set of problems, but the substance, the illegal narcotics are flowing across our border, 100% of them. And as you mentioned, there's a public health crisis with respect to opiate overdoses. 100,000 Americans last year died of drug overdoses, the majority of whom died because of fentanyl, some of whom died because of fentanyl that was laced with around the marijuana and other drugs. So, but the point is, we're doing nothing to stop the leading cause of death of people aged 18 to 45. I mean, we're just totally ceding control of our border to paramilitary narco-terrorists, very, very coordinated and sophisticated drug cartels, while our commander-in-chief abdicates his first duty to provide for a common defense. So he is derelict, number one, and number two, in violation of the Article 4, Section 4 guarantee clause that the federal government has an obligation to protect states against an invasion. So look, the list of crises is too long to recount on your show, but this is a constitutional crisis, and the state's the only path forward to protecting our citizens. And staving off more of what we're talking about is to have our state leaders exercise their inherent sovereign constitutional right to protect their own citizens and secure their own borders.